Hello, Handheld Heroes 2019 AD, approximately. It is 4:20 on the West Coast, approximately. And that means it's time for Bung. Wait, that's not what happens at 4:20? Close enough. So this is a homebrew made for a homebrew contest in the late 90s, and this was a game that was made. See? It was even made by this guy. Shoutouts to Mikhail Anderson here. Anyway. We'll have a minute or two to talk about the game, but let's get in with the dank lore. Iron Hike was going out with his iron. And suddenly a mean monster took his iron. I must get my iron back. I can't get over there. I will take the other way. Alright, let's go. So Iron Hike is, like I said, a homebrew for a homebrew contest for a company called Bung Enterprises. Now, Bung is a manufacturer, or was a manufacturer, I should say, of backup units for the N64 and the Game Boy. I'm gonna grab this health. Yes, that's health. You'll have to trust me on that one. And they hosted a homebrew contest, a couple of them actually, to get some homebrew games made that they distributed under public domain. But, you know, public domain homebrew games, you would need a way to run them on your Game Boy. Hint, hint, maybe a backup unit. You see what they were going for here. Pretty smart of them, right? By the way, we're doing all stages, which the only difference between any percent and all stages is this one stage here, stage 1, 2. I just decided, hey, I want to do it, so we're going to make the category all stages. Pick up a little bit of health here, bop totally not Firebrand, or just jump over him, it doesn't matter. So, you know, Mr. Anderson, who I have no idea if he ever made anything else again, but he produced this little gem of a game and entered it into, I believe, the 1997 Bung Game Boy Color contest. And having played through most of what Bung released as public domain, this is one of the better games in the contest. Now, Bung, like I said, is a backup unit manufacturer based out of Hong Kong, and eventually Nintendo got wind. Oh, please don't tell you the song goes all the way through the game. Yeah, this is the only music track in the game. Enjoy this banger. It gives me a migraine after about 3 runs and I have to stop. I'm not even joking. But, you know, Nintendo eventually got wind of what Bung was doing and tried to stop them, right? And Bung, being a company in Hong Kong, was really hard to sue in this era. This is a really good story, and it's, you know, a good thing to go into because there's not much going on in this run. But Nintendo tried to stop them by suing people that were distributing Bung backup units, which is a phrase I never thought I would get to say in front of about 500 people. And that just resulted in a US court finding that backup units were legal. So they sued distributors of Bung units, also a thing I never thought I would say in front of a bunch of people, in Europe for having unlicensed or uninspected power supplies. So Bung got them inspected and certified. Finally, Nintendo sued Bung directly in Hong Kong. So Bung dissolved their company and reformed it in a week under a new name. So I have a lot of respect for Bung and just how awful they were to Nintendo. Granted, I love Nintendo too. Anyway, as far as this game goes, it is just... it's a pretty basic platformer. You hold right for most of it. Whoops. Wasn't supposed to go down there. Take a little bit of a speed strat here to go over the bats. It's a couple second time save. Frame perfect? No, probably not. Not even all that hard. Whoop. So that's the end of World 1. there are 3 worlds. Here's some more dank lore. Hi, your iron is in another world. Kind of like your princess is in another castle, you know? Let's move on to World 2, the Ice World. So this is very much like a Mario clone, except you have health. So I guess it's not much of a Mario clone. Maybe a late Mario clone. This could be Super Mario 64 remake, right? I don't know what this thing is from. Here's the Super Mario Bros. 2 Ninja. You know, just as you do. At least this game is more than 3 FPS. I can't say I've played, or every game I've played in the past week has had more than 3 FPS, unfortunately. So part of the reason why I wanted to get this run in is to just talk about Bung and how hilarious they are, and also, like, what they ended up bringing to the emulation and backup unit scene. Because, you know, this is the era where emulators were kind of a new concept. People were dumping ROMs already with backup units, but there wasn't much in the way of emulators, and people especially couldn't just really get online and grab an emulator and grab a ROM like you could during the Emu Paradise eras, and even still now. Go up here. And Bung kind of got a lot of that started in a way. Or at least popularized some of it with backup units. This is the Dark Souls of bootlegs indeed. So one of the things that I find interesting, especially about the Game Boy backup unit they made, is that they had to defeat some rather clever copy protection in the Game Boy architecture. The Game Boy didn't really have a tin nest chip. Oh no, we're fine. Unfortunately, Iron Hike bounces about a mile in the air when hit. Pick up a fireball here. You can tell I have a fireball because there is now a fireball in the top left of my screen. Very important. I will also lose this fireball after taking an arbitrary number of hits. Maybe one, maybe a bunch. It's random. I don't know. We'll go out here. So anyway, as far as the copy protection and the Game Boy goes, it didn't have a tin nest chip like the NES did, right? They actually did something a little more clever than that, realizing that if they did a mechanical lockout like that, people would just eventually defeat it. So what Nintendo did was, when you boot a Game Boy game, there's actually data stored in the Game Boy firmware that represents roughly a hash. And what it does is it pulls the Game Boy logo that scrolls on the screen when you start a game off of the cartridge. Scrolls it up the screen. I disagree with that hit. And does math on it to basically determine if it matches what's in the firmware, the bootloader. If they don't match, the game won't start. Now the intent here, as I take an intentional death, the intent here was to make it so you had to have the Nintendo and Game Boy logos somewhere on your cartridge to get it to boot on the Game Boy. So even if Nintendo couldn't sue you in a certain jurisdiction for copyright violation for selling backup units, they could go after you for trademark violation for having the Nintendo and Game Boy logos somewhere on your cart. Actually, in recent months, someone found a way to brute force the algorithm, deliberate damage boost there, so that you could put practically any logo you want in that sector and RAM and still boot your cartridge, which is really cool. It's on GitHub somewhere. I should have looked it up before starting the run. Here's the end of World 2. Anyway, back when Bung was doing this, as we get the exact same cutscene as before, your iron is in another world, we didn't have the ability to just brute force the algorithm to generate that logo. So, the homebrew carts that these developers made, because they had to boot on a Game Boy to be accepted into the Bung homebrew competition, had the Nintendo Game Boy logo on them. So Bung kind of encouraged a bunch of probably teenagers that were messing around with homebrew development to perform flagrant trademark violation, which I am totally for. I'm all about, you know, be gay, do crimes, all that good stuff, especially trademark. Trademark is a load of crap. So, hooray for Bung for encouraging a bunch of teenagers to violate Nintendo's trademark. He is still looking for his iron. It's at the end of World 3. We're gonna get there pretty soon. This little jump here can just randomly catapult you into the lava because the blocks break on a global cycle based on game time, not how long you've actually been standing on the block. Luckily, it did not yeet me into the lava there. This will give us our 3rd hit point. As you can see, my health is down there on the bottom left. I should be quite fine to finish the run. Bop a B here. Now, as for flagrant trademark and copyright violation, this game has stuff from Super Mario Bros. 2. It has stuff from, I believe, Contra, Super Mario Bros. 3. Couple of other games. I want to say Link to the Past, or not Link to the Past. There's definitely some Zelda game stuff in here, though. So this is just kind of a mishmash of everything into a neat little homebrew game. The mechanics, actually, the platforming is some of the most solid stuff I've ever played in a bootleg or a homebrew, though. I tend to play a lot of homebrew and bootleg games because I GM Kusa Grande, the bad video game tournament. This is one of the more playable bootleg / homebrew games I've come across. Definitely still a total piss take as a speedrun, though. I love it, though. I love this game so much. Yeah, Gargoyle's Quest. There's Firebrand in here somewhere. I will use Yeet if I want to, Corndan, and you will have to accept that. Okay, here we go. So we're on 3-4. There are 2 levels left in the run. As you've seen, most of this run is holding right while I talk about copyright, but, you know, it's a fun little game. My PB is around 11:15, and there are exactly 2 runners of this, me and Glitchwitch, who, upon watching me practice this run and tell everyone there's, like, no reason to... no reason to run this, really, she picked it up and ran it. I have made Dad Infinitum run this twice, or watch this twice now. Yeah, my submission video for the run selection committee was just me explaining for 15 minutes that I was doing this purely to make Dad Infinitum watch this. And he one-upped me by putting it in the marathon. So I had to actually grind it in practice. Lisai. He gets the last laugh because I made him watch this twice. He's made me run it a couple of dozen times now. So hats off to him. The speedrunning dad who tries to use kids' lingo. That's fair. That is time. And that is the end of Iron Hike, and we can check out the dank lore here in the end of the game. Iron Hike finally found his iron! What reward do we get? What do we get? What credits? Game over. Never mind. Homebrew. What can I say? So that's Iron Hike. Shoutouts to Mikhail Anderson, wherever he is. If he's even still around, I hope one day he gets to see this. Dad always gets the last laugh. I got to run this in front of 300 people. I made Dad Infinitum watch it twice. I'm happy.